He is the presidential board member of ISKCON Abbots in Hyderabad. He is also the youth counselor and trainer in Principal Center Leadership. He is a corporate seminar presenter at Bank of America and many other multinational corporations. He is the compiler of Discover Yourself and a dozen other books. He is also the Global Duty Officer for training youths from and in the Western world. So loudly we'll chant Hari Bol one more time.
Need anything else?
I'm going to sing this Paramakaruna song. They will catch, no? Somebody can help me move that.
If you share, they'll see on the screen.
I'm saying that also, yeah. But somebody can move this one. It's coming there. I'll make it bigger. I'll make it more bigger. One of you can move this one. You can sit here and move this. Oh, it's coming there. Who plays Mridanga? There? Prabhu, you know 1-2 step, 1-2?
Hopefully I can.
Okay, you try this, otherwise I'll play otherwise. Yeah. He knows it, he knows.
Yeah, please play.
Yeah. You play this?
I'll move.
Some to move this one. You can sit here and move. Yeah. You have to just do this cursor as I sing. For people who are watching it, that's. Parama karuna pahodoi jana Nitai Gaurachandra. Everybody together. Parama karuna pahodoi jana Nitai Savay avatar Sarashiro Mani Kevalananda Kanda Kevalananda Kanda Kevala Ananda Kanda Kevala Ananda Kanda. Is coming? Coming? Not coming. Bajao bajao bhai Chaitanya Nitai Sudridha Vishwas Kodi Chaitanya Nitai Sudridha Vishwas Kodi Vijaya chadiya Tera se majiya Mukhe bolo Hari Hari Vijaya chadiya Again, it came and went away. Mic came and went. Vijaya chadiya Tera se majiya Mukhe bolo Hari Hari Vijaya chadiya Tera se majiya Mukhe bolo Hari Hari 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 देखो रे भाई त्रिभुवन नाय एमन दयाल दाता देखो रे भाई त्रिभुवन नाय एमन दयाल दाता पशु पक्षी जुरे पाषाण विधरे सुनि जार गुण गाथा जुरे पाषाण विधरे सुनि जार गुण गाथा पशु पक्षी झोरे पाषाण विधरे सुनि जार गुण गाता संसारे माजिया रोहिली पोड़िया से पदे नहीं लो आशा अपन करम भुंजाए समन कहे लोचन दासा परम करुणा बहुदुय जना निताय गौरचंद्र करुणा बहुदुय निताय गौरचंद्र हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे राम 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 हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे My throat is very bad. Give the volume. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Shri Gaur ki, Shri Prabhupada ki, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki, Kali Yuga Pavan Harinama Sankirtana ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshughavan Melitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So I am coming to Connecticut for the first time. His Grace Ananda Gauranga Prabhu, on behalf of Pyare Mohan Prabhu, had written a mail to me inviting me. Also His Grace Gauranga Prabhu was the one who connected me here. I am very thankful to all of them. In this place, such a beautiful community has come up under the lotus feet of Sri Sri Gaur Nitai. It's a great joy to see so many of you bright-faced devotees here. I heard a lot of glories of Pyare Mohan Prabhu from various devotees, and I'm likely to get to meet him also today before probably leaving. I heard he is on the way back, Prabhu. And Ananda Gauranga Prabhu took the trouble to drive to Boston and pick me up and bring me all the way. I'm very thankful to him. This topic of tit for tat or tolerate that will be relevant to both those who are initiated devotees or practicing devotees, and also some of you who might have probably dropped in for the first time. Is there anyone who has come for the first time to such a program like this here? Any of you? All are devotees. Okay. So you all have been coming. Okay. So I am keeping it, keeping the presentation easy enough for anyone to grasp. And when I first time spoke this topic in the Chowpari temple, I found that a great number of audience all across the globe found a great attraction to this topic. Why? Because we are living in a day and age of Kali Yuga, which is the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. So there are quarrels happening all across the globe, and individually and collectively, people want to know what is the right way to respond in different situations in our lives, whether it be in home or whether it be in office or whether it be in a public place. How do you respond to people? So in Delhi, one devotee was living in a colony, housing colony. As you know very well, devotees have a lot of pressure for time. They have to go to office, they have to take care of the household, and they have to take care of sadhana in the morning, chanting and everything. So as usual, this devotee started for the office a bit late. He was not on time. So he took his car and tried to come out of his colony very swiftly in his car. Like this, he came out of the housing colony, and there was a main road in which a car was going at high speed. So he's supposed to come and join the main road very carefully. So when these two cars came like this, so the mistake was on devotee's side, because he very quickly came. The two cars are about to collide, but somehow by Krishna's grace they were saved. They were about to touch, there was only 2 inches in between them. So the driver of the car, he put a sudden brake, and that fellow looked at the devotee with a angry glance. What do you think this devotee did? Generally in India, when 2 cars hit each other, slightly also, and where one driver would shout at other and other one would retaliate back, which is very well known in India, and they would oftentimes exchange bad words, scolding one another, and both of them will try to prove, I am right, you are wrong. That is a general thing we have seen. This is one trend we see in this world. People don't want to improve, they only want to prove. Everybody is in a proving mode. So very rarely you will find a driver who will admit, sorry, I was wrong and you are right. Very rare. Both parties generally argue. But in this case, what happened with the devotee? The devotee folded his palm like this. Like that he bowed his head and did like this. Of course that fellow shouted in the beginning. When he saw the devotee doing like this, next moment when the devotee lifted the head, he saw that car was gone. Amazing, no? There was no, that fellow immediately his anger was dissolved the next moment. So this is the power of humility. You will see in this world, even if you have, in your life you have been a little strong person in your life. Some of you sitting here may be soft-tempered or soft-natured. Some of you may be a little hot-tempered. In Hindi we call it garam naram, we call it. Some are hot-tempered, some are soft-tempered. So mild people, soft-natured people are often easily attractive to other people. But if somebody is hot-tempered and very shrewd and very intelligent and very sharp, sometimes people keep a distance from them. They don't like sometimes. But in case even such a person becomes humble occasionally, that humility is very beautiful. That humility immediately will bring forgiveness in the other people. So then immediately you may ask me a question, do you mean to say that means always we should be humble, always we should tolerate, we have no right to take a tit for tat? So therefore this topic is going to be a very balanced one. I am not going to take any one of the two sides. I will show you evidences on both sides, and then we will arrive at a very good conclusion at the end. I am going to cover about 5 topics, I think. See, this is one of the first one. How do great souls forgive, forget, and not maintain grudges? Forgiving itself is difficult, and forgetting is more difficult, and to give up the grudges is most difficult, isn't it? But you will see an example very soon. We will show you. And we are going to talk about 5 case studies also from the scriptures. Then we come to our life. What would we do in our real life situation? Some people say, Prabhu, your Shastric case studies are wonderful, but in real life they won't work. this category, I can hear many people in the audience speaking within their own minds, saying this. Therefore, I am also going to talk something about real life situation. Then how to overcome anger and revengeful thoughts. Especially if you are told by somebody, don't take it for tat, just tolerate. Okay, you tolerate, but while tolerating, two things happen. One is we get angry inside, and we also feel revengeful thoughts towards those on whom we could not take revenge, we could not act on them. So you have been told not to act, so you suppress yourself and you feel revengeful thoughts, what to do with them. And how to forgive. Especially, how many of you here you feel you are on the side of being a perfectionist? Don't worry, I am also on the perfectionist side. In case, how many of you? There is only 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 4, 5. And others may feel a bit shy to raise the hand. But those who are perfectionists, they are very much appreciated for their work output, for their smartness, and for their excellence in services they do. At the same time, one problem any perfectionist, including me, can face is they will have difficulty in forgiving. Anything mediocre, they can't take it. I am also one such fellow. Once I was traveling in a train, carrying my laptop in my bag. So I used to give my laptop to my assistant. He's supposed to lock it before going to sleep. But one day he was pretty tired. He didn't lock it. He just kept the laptop next to himself, put a blanket over him, and he was sleeping. So I saw the laptop not locked. So I took it away from him. And that fellow was snoring very peacefully. He never knew that I took the laptop from him. I was surprised. And then I hid it below my seat in one place. And that fellow got up after half an hour. When he turned around, he suddenly realized the laptop is missing. He got down, he put on the lights, and I was already inside the blanket watching him. I actually wanted to put him in tension first. Because unless he sufficiently takes tension, then only I was planning to reveal the truth. I was delighting in his anxiety. Then he went here, went there in the train, he asked so many people, put on this light, that light, I asked so many of them. And his eyes were ridden with anxiety. When he came back after 15-20 minutes, he asked me. Then I asked him, what happened? The laptop is missing? I asked him, yeah. He said, yes, Prabhu, I actually was very tired this night. I'm sorry. I don't know where is it out. So should we pull the chain and stop the train? Then I told him, then I got down and showed him, see, here is a laptop. I have kept it. You ignorant fellow, you careless fellow, you are lazy and you didn't lock it. I chastised him. Okay, he was putting his head down. Sorry, he was telling. I said, what is the sorry Puri? Keep with you. I don't want all this. I just can't take it. I said, henceforth, this laptop will be with me, not with you anymore. I will take care of it myself, I said. He said, whatever pleases you, Prabhu, you can do that. So I kept laptop with him every day. After 2-3 months passed, one day I was working in the laptop till night 11:30, the train. And I was damn tired. All day I have been working in the laptop, practically 10-12 hours. So now, I was so tired, I didn't have any stamina, any strength to lock the laptop. So I kept next to myself and I went to sleep. Somehow that fellow noticed me. Because he had slept in the day and night he was awake. So then when he made sure that I went to sleep, then he released the laptop from me. And he hid it somewhere. Then after 1 or 2 hours when I got up, I moved myself and I checked the laptop is missing. And I got down. And then he was awake. He asked me, Prabhu, this thing? You have any problem? He said, I said, no problem, you go to sleep, I told him. I have an issue, but I will sort it out. I will figure it out myself. You are not required, I told him. Then I went here, there, everywhere, asked so many people. After half an hour, 1 hour of search, I was very tired. Then I asked him, hey, somehow some thief has stolen it, this laptop. Then he asked me, did you lock it, Prabhu? He asked me. As if innocently he doesn't know. I said, you see, somehow I didn't lock it. You see, I was pretty tired. And again he got down and then took out the laptop and said, did you see her? Here, and then he asked him, Prabhu, 3 months ago you scolded me left, right, center, so badly. Now you yourself forgot to lock. So what do you understand from this? So I had to cut a sorry figure. So I didn't have any answer. So then I read one very interesting statement in Bible. It says, forgiven are those who forgive others. Jesus says this. Forgiven are those who forgive others. You will see that if I am a perfectionist, I have to cultivate this quality of ability to forgive, although it may be painful to forgive. So people do commit mistakes in this world. In the 18th chapter of Gita, Lord Krishna says, when you lit up fire, there is also smoke. You can't avoid it. It's a natural phenomenon. If somebody says, no, smoke shouldn't come, unless smoke doesn't come, I am not going to cook today, then how are you going to cook in a furnace, isn't it? So he says that when you undertake any new project, whether it be in your company or at home, there will be some problems associated with it. You just have to learn to live with it. It's a part of the process in the material world. Like every parent wants their children to get first rank. And especially if a child got first rank once, finished, and the parents cannot take a second rank for the next time. They will say, now that you got a first rank, you have the potential to get a first rank. You have to keep getting it all your life. So the idea is, you will see that forgiveness is therefore the fifth one is how to forgive. And sixth one is, when should we not tolerate? There are situations in our life when we shouldn't tolerate. So I only don't know how will I complete all this within my stipulated time. Let me keep the clock in front of me. I think I'm supposed to finish by 5:30, is it? Where is Prabhu? After that question answer?
No,
Including question answer? Oh really? It's already 4:45.
Yeah? It's okay. You can go over.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay. So I will go till 5:30 without question answer, and in case after that maybe 5 minutes we can extend just for one question or something like that. Is it all right? 45 minutes I can complete. Yeah. Okay, let's begin with the first one.
Prabhu, if you are not in a rush to go back, you are okay.
You called Prabhu and checked.
I have to text him now.
Okay, Prabhuji is going to check. He'll tell us. Vanamali Prabhu, there is another Maharaja has come to temple. His known as Bhaktivinoda Maharaj. If you can tell Maharaj to give the class, then I can go a little late from here. I can leave at 6, I think, from here.
6:37.
But I sleep at 8:30. 8:30 I sleep and get up at 2:30 in the morning. Yeah. So, first one is about great souls. So I am taking a direct reference from the Bhagavatam. You see the picture. Once upon a time, the great king Parikshit, king of the whole world, he went to the forest. The kings in those days were allowed to hunt the animals in the forest, especially when the animals increase in number. Because the animals in the forest sometimes can become a threat for the saintly people who are living in the forest. So in order to keep the animal population under control, that was one reason. Another reason, the kings have to learn the art of fighting and bloodshed. They have to see with archery and everything. Otherwise, they won't be able to face the battle. So therefore, Parikshit was actually doing his duty, going to forest, hunting the ferocious animals. While doing that, he became very tired, as you see him. He was very hungry, he was very thirsty. So he came to the hermitage of a sage, on Samik Rishi, who was sitting outside his hermitage on a deer skin, and he was completely absorbed in trance, meditation. So when Parikshit came near, he was surprised. He thought that I am king of the world coming here, and this personality is just sitting and closing his eyes and not even offering me a cup of water. If you go to somebody's house, firstly it is said they should give you a mat to sit, a sitting place, they should give you some water to drink, they should speak some sweet words, and they should feed some prasad if they can, and be very kind and friendly. Even if an enemy comes to your house, you should treat him very warmly, like that it is said. But here, Parikshit was wondering why this sage is neglecting me, ignoring me. So he felt very unhappy. Now here comes a very important point. Parikshit is a pure devotee. In fact, in the womb of his mother, he saw Lord Vishnu eye to eye, personally. He is called as Vishnu Rath, protected by Lord Vishnu from the Brahmastra of Ashwatthama when he was in the womb of his mother. And also he is a descendant of Pandavas. Till date, in his record, there was not a single blemish in his character. He was very, very respectful to saintly people. And he was always polite and humble and well behaved. But why right now he felt angry? Because Lord Krishna wanted to use Parikshit to arrange for the Bhagavatam to be spoken to him through another sage called Shukadeva Goswami. So therefore the Lord orchestrated this incident through Parikshit by inducing Parikshit to become angry in this particular situation. He became angry and upset. So he felt that sage is ignoring me. So there was a dead snake nearby. He picked it up in his bow and put it on the neck of Samik Rishi. So Samik Rishi was still, in his trance. He didn't come out. And Parikshit went away from there. Then after he returned to palace, he immediately felt in the palace that maybe I did wrong. What if the sage was really meditating on Lord, and if I put a dead snake around him, it would be actually an insult to a saintly person. So maybe I did a big blunder. And then he said, I am willing to take punishment. See, whenever we all commit mistakes in life, one of the things we very much fear is the punishment. In order to escape the punishment, some children may even tell lies to the teacher. Teacher may ask, did you all do your homework? Then the children may say, yes ma'am. And then one boy is blinking, from his eyes blinking, we can say he hasn't done the homework. But he will also say, yes ma'am, I have also done. But then the ma'am will call the mother or father and ask, did your son or daughter do the homework? And the parents will check the notebook and say, no, they haven't done. So then it is revealed. So many times we are afraid of punishment when we commit a mistake, isn't it? But Parikshit was not like that. Parikshit was ready to accept a punishment for his mistake. He felt, I did commit a mistake, he felt. In the meantime, what happened? This is son of that saint, Samik Rishi's son. His name is Shringi. He, along with other Brahmana boys, were all in the riverside. He got the news that the king of the world came and he put a dead snake around the neck of Samik Rishi. The boy, this Brahmana boy, became angry. So he told his friends, oh, this king has become so proud. He has mistreated my father by putting a dead snake around his neck. Just wait and watch what I do. He said, I will spell out a curse now on the king that he will die within 7 days. Bitten by a serpent called Takshaka. Like that he pronounced a curse. So this boy was an inexperienced boy and he was uncultured and he was very proud of his Brahminical prowess. And immaturely, without analyzing the situation properly, he spelled out a curse. And then when the king went back to his palace, he got the news that this boy has spelled the curse on him and he has to leave his body in 7 days, within the next 7 days. Now the king was also no less person. The king could actually counter curse that Brahmana boy. He could actually even reverse the curse also. He had the power. But do you think the king did that? He didn't do that. He thought that, okay, I have to leave my body in 7 days. For the mistake I did, I got a punishment. Now let me think of what is the best action I can do in these 7 days. So immediately the king renounced everything, renounced his kingdom. He placed Janamejaya, his son, in the throne as his successor, and he went to the bank of the Ganges and he sought the company of all saintly people there. All over the world, many saintly people assembled there. And the king begged them to enlighten him. he asked, what is the duty of a dying man? And what is the duty of people in general? 2 questions he asked. So he bowed down to them. And then he told them, I am not afraid of death, which is going to come in 7 days. Why? Thammo bayatam pradiyantu vipra ganga cha devi dritachittameshe dijopasishtas kuhakastakshakova dashatpalam gayada vishnu gatha. He is telling, I am sitting in the bank of Ganges. I am surrounded by all saintly people. And you are all speaking the glories of the Supreme Lord. So he said, what is the fear for me? I am surrounded by so much holiness all around me. And I have nothing to fear. I will hear the pastimes of the Lord and I will go back to Godhead. In this way, very confidently, he heard the katha, and then there he came. Shukadeva Goswami came to the bank of the river, and then he became his spiritual master, and all saintly people stood up and welcomed him, and he enlightened him, and the king went back to Godhead after 7 days. Now, for us, in connection to our topic now, here comes the point. When Samik Rishi opened his eyes, he saw a dead snake around his neck. What do you think he did? He just took it and threw it off, that's all. He didn't mind it. And then the boy, his son, returned home, and then as soon as he saw his father, he cried loudly, and father called him and took him on his lap, as you see here. And the boy said, oh my dear father, I have cursed the king to die in 7 days. And the father said, alas, alas, what a great blunder you have done, my son. He said, that person whom you cursed is a pure devotee of Lord Krishna. He is the king of the world. If the king is killed, it is like cutting down a big tree which is giving shelter and shade for so many birds and ants and reptiles and the human beings, and the tree gives fruits and flowers and tree bark and firewood and tables and chairs, so many things it gives. So king was a shelter provider for the entire world. Now that you have cursed the king to die in 7 days, the whole world is going to be at a great loss. You have done a great mistake. So the son cried, understanding his mistake. It was too late. He had pronounced the curse. Now it can't be reversed. So now you will see, Samik Rishi did not consider the insult to be a great insult. You know, how did the king put this snake around my neck? Dead snake. He understood king was very thirsty and I didn't open my eyes and provide him water. I did not offer proper guest reception. So he understood mistake was mine. But the son couldn't see that mistake. Son was feeling offended that my father was insulted. In the same manner, King Parikshit also did not take any insult or offense when the boy cursed him to die in 7 days. Parikshit could have counter-cursed. He also didn't counter-curse. So therefore this verse is spoken in the Bhagavatam there. Please all of you repeat. Tiraskrita vipralabdaha Shapta kshipta hata api Nasya tat pratikurvanti Tad bhakta prabhavopihi. The devotees of the Lord are so forbearing that even though they are defamed, cheated, cursed, disturbed, neglected or even killed, they are never inclined to avenge themselves, it is said. So even if somebody does this kind of worst treatment for a devotee of the Lord, their behavior is always extraordinary, good behavior. You see, in this world, it has been observed, there are certain creatures who don't do any harm to anybody. Like for example, Sujano Nayati Vairam. Okay, I will tell you that verse. Mrigamina Sajjananam Tranajala Santosha Vihita Vrittinam Lubdaka Divarapishna Nishkarana Vairino Jagati. In this world, there are causeless enemies to 3 people. See, you all know, he says 3 things. Mriga means a deer. What does a deer eat? Grasses. It is not troubling anybody. And do you think there is a dearth of grass anywhere? In the forest there is abundant grass. Then there is Meena. Meena lives in water, fish. And the fish doesn't disturb anybody. It just happily lives in water. And Sajjanana means devotees of the Lord. They also don't disturb anybody. Generally the devotees of the Lord are peaceful. They just have a bead bag. They just chant the holy name. They study the scriptures, eat little prasad, sleep in any corner. They don't need anything. But even though these three people are good people, normal people, they also have enemies, he says. So for the deer, who is the enemy? There is a hunter taking a bow and arrow and aiming at attacking the deer. It's called as Nishkarana Vairi. It's called causeless enemy. Similarly for a fish, who is the enemy? Fisherman. He catches a fish. Similarly, a Vaishnava devotee of the Lord, for them the enemy is fault-finding critics. Like you see Jesus, for example, on the day of his crucifixion, he was put on the cross. There were two thieves on either side. One of them was very humble and aligned with God, and he told Jesus that I have committed so many sins, will Lord forgive me? And Jesus said, don't worry, this evening you will attain God, he told them. And the other fellow was teasing Jesus actually. He was telling that, look at you, you became a preacher of God, and this is what God has done to you. See, I am a thief, I am being put on the cross, and you are also being put on the cross. So Jesus said, oh Lord, please forgive him, for he knows not what he is speaking. So he prayed for the forgiveness of some ruthless fellow who actually teased him. Generally, if somebody teases us, we want to take revenge, isn't it? But he actually prayed for the forgiveness of that person. So you will see, great souls have this symptom. Great souls can be compared to a sandalwood tree. If you take an axe and hit a sandalwood tree, the same sandalwood tree increases the fragrance of the sharp axe. If you smell it, it will be so fragrant. The more you cut the tree, the more fragrance comes out. Similarly, great souls, the more you trouble them, the more wonderful things come out. Like if you take a stone and hit a mango tree, you hit with one stone, mango tree will give you 4 mangoes back. You will see that. That's the nature of great souls. You try to trouble them, they will do even more good for you. That's their nature. So therefore these examples are given. Now I am showing you 5 case studies now. So one by one let's go. They are all very exhaustive pastimes. I am only going to tell you, but I don't have to behave like him. If I do like him, what is the difference between him and me? Is it not true? Like one fellow wrote a bad article about Gandhi in the newspaper. And some Gandhi's followers came and said, Gandhi, we want to, respond to this article. And we want to say all bad things about that person. And Gandhi smiled and said, see, if you write an article like that, what is the difference between him and us? And he said, when you wear a new shoe, sometimes a new shoe may bite your leg. Correct, no? A new shoe, it causes red marks in your leg. But what do you do with such a shoe? If shoe is biting you, will you bite the shoe? No, you don't do that. That's what Gandhi said. You don't bite the shoe back foolishly. If you put the shoe in your mouth will get impure. So you don't do that. In the same manner, he said, you don't have to take revenge. Kshipta means neglected. Drona was neglected by Drupada when he went to meet his friend in the palace. Because Drona was a poor Brahman, Drupada was a king. So he was neglected, Drona. So Drona felt so insulted, he took a severe action against Drupada. That's another story you all know from Mahabharata. So, on the other hand, Shukadeva Goswami was sent by his father Vedavyas to go to Janaka to learn sense control. That's a very long story. Again, I'll cut it short for you. He was not taken into consideration for 3 days. He was standing outside the palace, Shukadeva Goswami. Nobody attended to him. He was completely neglected. But after 3 days, they brought a big umbrella and he was given a garland. He was taken inside with great, very prestigious welcome. He was offered very great respect. So, but Shukadeva remained undisturbed. He didn't mind the neglect. So, Hata means killed. Like for example, here Kartaviryajan and Parshuram episode you will find there's a lot of tit for tat in that particular pastime. On the right side I have shown Draupadi stopping Bhima telling Ashwatthama, don't kill this Ashwatthama. This comes in the first canto, 7th chapter. You can read this pastime. That shows her forgiveness. So, now what I showed you till now is, there are cases where people did tit for tat. And there are other cases where people forgave. So now our question is, what should we do in our life? Because both Shastric examples are there. Correct, no? So some of you may say, Prabhu, I would like to prefer tit for tat. Because Shastras also show examples. So I will go for that option. And some may say, I will try to forgive. Is it a matter of your choice? Or is there a very clear-cut indication, what should we do, when, and all that? That will come here. Actually, this kind of fights are there everywhere. Actually, here you are just seeing a slide, but I will show you a video. It's only 1 minute video I will show you. You can see what happens when we fight in this world. You have to watch very carefully because only 1 minute only it is. Less than a minute. You are able to see? Yeah. See, two deers are fighting. There are other deers. There is no sound in this. No problem. That's all finished. So, what did you learn from this? Did you see some more deers were here? You saw them? What did they do? They ran away, smart deers. And these two deers, what they were doing, one deer said, this ground belongs to me. Another deer said, this belongs to me. Although see how much place they have. Huge ground. But they were fighting. They exerted, both of them exerted with each other. And such fight actually attracted the lion to finish them. So you can find in this world people endlessly fight up to death. Such fights are not uncommon. Sometimes people, here they are physically fighting, these guys. Similarly, we may sometimes verbally fight. So what should we do? Should we fight like this? So the answer is very simple. In personal affairs, Shastras say, don't take insult very seriously. One time Badrinarayan Maharaj, in his Grihasthashram before, his daughter slapped his son. Sometimes brother and sister also slap each other, sometimes. So she slapped the boy. But there was one tooth which was rotten tooth, which was to be extracted. So when she slapped him, the tooth came out. So anyway, the boy was also happy. I don't have to go to doctor. The tooth also came out and they threw away the tooth. So sometimes we will find that we don't take insult in case it ultimately turns out to be a benefit for you sometimes. But if somebody insults Lord's devotees, then we should not take it lightly. Like for example, Jagai and Madai were insulted by, they were insulting Nityananda Prabhu, so Mahaprabhu became very angry. Otherwise, personally, we don't take insults very seriously. If somebody insults me, I would think that actually he doesn't know everything about me. I have committed so many mistakes, but this person knows only 2 out of 5 mistakes. Therefore, what he is telling about me is actually lesser than what I deserve. That's what we should think when somebody is insulting us. So we shouldn't have a very high estimation of ourselves. Sometimes many of us think that, oh, I am very innocent, I am very pure. We are actually not very innocent. We have committed many mistakes in many lifetimes. And now we are here now, reaping the fruits of our own actions. So when we have a too high estimation of ourselves, then the ego makes us become wild on others. Actually, sometimes you find when two devotees fight, both devotees tell the glory of themselves, which doesn't look nice. Correct, no? Imagine both parties say, Prabhu, I am so good, I am so good. And that fellow says, I am so good, I am so good. Huh? Actually, you should say, he is good, I am not good. Huh? That is Vaishnava tendency, ideally speaking. There was one great Vaishnava devotee in Srirangam. So he went to the Lord and said, oh my dear Lord, I am very, very fallen. Please offer me your shelter. Please instruct me, guide me. One day what happened, there was one envious person. And that fellow was also standing and taking darshan. And then when this devotee was praying to Lord, oh Lord, I am very fallen. So that person would say, Satyam, Satyam, he will say. Satyam means, it is truth, it is truth. So he saw that and said, then this devotee told the Lord, my dear Lord, every day I came and told you that I am fallen, you didn't believe me. Today I have brought one witness also with me. See, this witness tells that it is truth. Please be merciful on me, he said. That's how the devotee feels. So, I will ask you a simple question. Say somebody has put fire to your hut. You have two choices now. Either to bring a fire brigade and put out the fire, you can do that. Or you run behind that person and catch him by his collar and punch him and beat him and kick him. Which one you think you would like to do? Okay, how many of you would like to put out the fire in the house? Let's take what? Okay, how many of you will run behind him and beat him up and punch him? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 people, okay.
I may do after.
After putting off, yeah. Sometimes what happens, you may want to do after putting off, you may run away also. But the point is, you have to think which is more important. Putting out the fire is more important or attacking him is important. So this material world is called a samsara davanal. You want to put out this fire and go back to God, or you want to get into quarrelsome relationship with other people in the world. It's your choice, ultimately. We may get stuck in this world if we get into, debate with people. So we have to get out of this world. That's the point. So, okay, in case your superiors tell you not to go for a tit for tat, they tell you tolerate, tolerate, tolerate. Mostly your guru will tell you. In many of the lectures he will tell you, Trinadapi Shunichana, Tarorapi Sahishnuna. Be like a blade of grass, and be tolerant, don't fight with devotees. Many times you may want to fight, but you are not allowed to fight because superiors warn you and ask you not to fight. So sometimes you may agree not to fight, but then it causes some problem inside you. Like here you see. So you have to recognize that I am very angry now. Now you have to find out why am I becoming angry. For example, that's the ABC analysis we will see now. A is what? What is that agent which is activating my anger? And what is my belief system? And what are the consequences? And then consequential behavior. Okay, I will show you. I will show you an example. It will become easy for you once you see the example. Like one example here. So your friend told somebody that you are not a very smart devotee. Somebody went and told. Now you are feeling very upset. Who said I am not smart? Like that your mind is saying. You are very, very upset. See, this fellow is calling everybody and saying, what do you all think about me? Don't you think I am smart? How that fellow told that I am not smart? He is very upset. So what is our belief system? Please read this, somebody, loudly. Yeah.
Friend should not have criticized you. Does not know who you are and how smart and sneaky you are.
Correct, no? Thank you. So, you have a notion about you that you are very quick and you are very smart and your friend thinks you are foolish. Actually, he is foolish. This is your belief system about yourself. And therefore, the consequence is what you feel? Hurt. Oh, my friend has insulted me, he has gone around telling people bad about me. You are feeling very hurt. And the consequential behavior is, you shout back and get angry at him. This is very common, isn't it? You are yelling at him. Now, in 3 ways you can tackle this problem. The first way is expression. You express your anger. Sometimes people shout back like this, and that gives you temporary relief also, isn't it? But it doesn't help in the long run. Later on what happens, when you, after shouting, again the anger builds after some time. How many of you have seen a wave of anger coming? Any of you experienced that waves? You all know what I am talking about. Today you express it, after 3, 4, 5 days, again it comes back. You again pick it up again from there. Many times the anger continues. Like imagine yesterday night, say a husband and wife had a tussle, for example, and they went to sleep. Next day morning, the wife was bringing the glass of water, it slipped off from her hand and the glass broke. And the husband will make a big issue about it. Oh, you put the glass down, it broke, you see the glass is spreading all over the house, somebody may get hurt with the glass. She may say, this is a 2 rupee glass, you are making a big fuss about it. But why is he shouting so much? Not because the glass broke. Why? Because of the previous day. Previous day thing, it keeps coming again later on. It's a spill up. And then gradually the anger becomes a habit. So Krodha Sanskaras develop. Actually it begins with disturbance, disturbance, agitation, anger and resentment we call it. 4th degree is called hatred. So then we become slave of anger. So expression is not very good. You understand? Because the expression causes waves of anger and it also eventually makes a person get surrounded with a cloud of Krodha Sanskaras. His face itself will change, an angry person. People will fear an angry person and may not want to come near. You will lose a lot of friendships by being an angry person. So we have to actually not be a person who openly expresses our anger all the time. Then suppression, somebody may think, okay, let me suppress my anger and keep quiet. There's a problem in that also, because you develop hatred. If you suppress, it goes into subconsciousness. It becomes very complex for a period of time. So what is the right way? Right way is you have to find out in that given situation whether you should forgive or take a mature step. So let us see how do we do that. The 5th step we will see how do we do that. Here I am giving you some philosophical examples I am giving. Try to understand these examples, after which you will appreciate. Please repeat this statement from Prabhupada's book. Greatness of an individual is to be estimated by one's ability to tolerate provoking situations. So we all can check how much ability I have in provoking situations. So one story I'll tell you here. Srirangam temple elephants. So 2 elephants, husband and wife elephant, were living in Srirangam, and they were taken to the pond and they were bathed and dressed with velvet cloth, and tilak was put on their body, and with the bell ringing, ding dong ringing, they were walking towards the temple. On the way, in a gutter was living a pig who was newly wedded. So the pig came out with his wife, all the body smeared with stool and urine and all the gutter waters and everything. So the pig wanted to show something to his wife. So when these 2 elephants were coming, the pig immediately stopped the elephant and said, "Hey, are you ready for a stunt?" He asked him. And the elephant was stunned seeing that. He went 2-3 steps, he retraced behind and said, "Sorry sir, I am not ready for a stunt now," he said. And then the pig laughed loudly, ha 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 ha, he laughed. And the pig's wife was also very happy. She said, "You are very smart, you have confronted such a big animal, and even that fellow, his body is big but he has no confidence. You are more smart." The pig's wife was happy. Now the elephant's wife had an ego problem. And then when the elephant moved like this and walked, the elephant's wife said, "What is the use of your big body? You have no guts. Look at the small fellow, how smart he is, how bold he has courage. With your leg, if you give him one kick, he will roll like a football into the gutter. You could have done that. Why did you say no?" Then the elephant said, "You see, every day 5 o'clock we go to the temple of Srirangam, and there we are supposed to make, the elephants are trained there, even today you will see. They lift their trunk and say, 'Ranga,' they call. And then the Lord's altar opens there. So we have a service to Lord, and in case I fight with this pig, my body will become smeared with stool. Oh, you are a smart elephant. Now I understand you behind it." And she congratulated the husband for that. In this way, sometimes you may have to avoid fighting with mean-minded people, nasty people, crazy people. people who speak bad words and such kinds of people. Because if you participate with them, they are going to drag you down to their level. So therefore you don't participate. And the second one example I have given, when someone neglects. Okay, this is a long story cut short, I will tell you. One day I was going in a sumo, one of the temple drivers in Bombay was driving. What happened was, when all the vehicles stopped, some bikes used to go in between the vehicles, and then the bike went and stood in front of our sumo. So our driver, I observed, he became very angry with that boy, because when that boy was going in his bike, it hit the mirror on the side, there's a mirror on the side, it slightly hit it. So when it was open, it just got closed like this. So this driver shouted at the boy and said, "Do you have brain?" he asked him. So that boy took off his helmet, and then he looked behind, and then he also told one bad word to him. Then my driver told another bad word to him. In this way, these guys were back and forth hurling bad words, and the signal dropped, and then we proceeded. So this driver turned to me and asked me, "Swamiji, I am very sorry to speak such bad words in front of a saintly person like you. I should not have spoken. I am sorry." I said, "It's all right," I said. Then he asked me, "Swamiji, what do you feel about my behavior? Is it according to dharma or not?" He asked me. Then I asked him, what do you feel? I asked him. He said, according to me, what I did was right, he said. Then I said, "Okay, if you feel it's right, you keep it with you, no problem." Then I continued working in my laptop. Then after again another 10-15 minutes, he asked me, "But what is your feeling about what I did?" He asked me again. And then I told him this Srirangam temple elephant story, I told him. So as soon as he heard this story, the driver became so enlightened. He had a big beaming smile on his face. He said, thank you, Swamiji, now I am enlightened, now I am very happy," he said. I asked, "What did you understand?" I asked him. He said, "Just like this temple elephant, I am also a temple driver. I am also wearing tilak, I am a temple driver. I should not have participated with that nasty fellow. He spoke bad words, I spoke bad words. I could have refrained from such a nasty dealing," he said. I said, "Very good, you learnt a good lesson." And he told me, "I promise you, in future I will not do such a thing," he said. And after 10-15 minutes again, he turned to me and said, "But such guys, if we don't strongly talk to them, they will never learn a good lesson in their life." Like that he said. And then he said, then I asked him, "First of all, tell me why you became angry with him," I asked him. I told him that although he went ahead of your vehicle, did he break your glass? He didn't break. He just slightly hit and went. But why you became angry? Then he deeply thought. And then he said, "Actually, why I became angry? Actually, whenever I see scooter people, I become angry. Why? Because they go in between like a snake. Go in between the bigger vehicles. In India, it's very common. Here, maybe the traffic is very controlled in America here. But in India, if you have a scooter, it's very easy to go in between. Here I see people going with that, what do you call that? They have a wheel kind of thing, with a handle kind of thing. Some people go with the wheels, only the wheels on their legs, correct now? What do you call that?
That's called scooter.
Scooter they call it, really? Okay, so they go in between the vehicles also. So this fellow said, because he overtook me, I became envious of that boy. Therefore I became angry with him, he said. He found out the cause of his anger. You see, that's a beauty. And then he understood the mistake was not the boy's, the mistake was his. Similarly, my request to all of you devotees here, whenever any tit-for-tat mentality comes in us, go deep into your own heart and contemplate and find out what is the root cause of that. Is the root cause our own ego? Whether we are the root cause, we have to find out. Similarly, we become very angry if somebody displeases us. Like there was one devotee who went to the serving counter, the buffet system we have. So he took a big vessel and took a lot of sweet rice, 3-4 glasses of sweet rice he took. And then he kept it below his locker so that he can go for a bath and come back, and along with prasad he can eat 3 glasses of sweet rice. That was his plan. Because he stole actually, he stole a big quantity and kept. Now when he took bath and came back and saw somebody stole from him, he is a thief and another thief stole from a thief only. Isn't it? So he was very angry. So another devotee was laughing at him and said, Prabhu, you yourself stole it. From you he stole. Why are you angry? Huh? He said. So in this way, sometimes we may be angry with others for such instances. Yeah. And also, another example I given, when you should tolerate. One day, near Calcutta, there is a place called Kadakpur. One father and son were going in a bike on a daylight. At that time, suddenly one thief came with a big knife and told him, leave your bike with me, otherwise I'll kill you, both of you, he said. So the son was ready to leave the bike. He said, you take the bike. But the father was very unhappy. He said, it's broad daylight, how can a thief come and challenge us? He caught hold of the collar of the thief. He said, no, you cannot do anything, we both will beat you up. But then the thief had a knife, big knife in his hand. So he hit the father in a few places. Here, there, and a few places hand. And the old man cried and he fell on the ground. And the thief took the bike and went away. Then the son had a very good contact with police. Yeah, of course, first he took his father to hospital and he was treated and he got well in a month or so. Then the son called up the police immediately. By evening, the bike was reclaimed back. By evening. Then the son was telling me, if somebody asks for my scooter, what I would do is, my life is more important than the scooter. Correct, no? You can always give away the scooter, you can buy another one. But your life is more important. Therefore, we have to tolerate in such situations. So we should know how to act wisely and not foolishly. So the old man was not so smart because he didn't know the thief was capable of stabbing him in the belly. He was unnecessarily taking risk. So therefore we should know in which instances we should tolerate and when we should not tolerate. So here I gave you 4 examples I gave you. Life-threatening situations, somebody is displeasing you, somebody is neglecting you, somebody is insulting you. You can tolerate all this. Burn anger before anger burns you. So this is all about... So I will leave this PowerPoint with Anand Gaurang Prabhu. You all can go through it yourself later. So by patience and austerity and forgiveness. So I have given many quotes and everything from the scriptures. Saintliness, saintly behavior and all that. So now one last thing I will show and then we will conclude the talk. When should we not tolerate it? Very important to conclude with that. See, once there was a Buddhist guru and Prabhupada was sitting with him and having a dialogue with him. So the Buddhist guru was telling Prabhupada that we should always be non-violent, he was telling. And Prabhupada said, we should be non-violent in general, but there are situations in life which warrant us to be a bit violent if need be. But the Buddhist guru didn't agree. He said, you should never be violent, he said. Then Prabhupada asked him a question. Okay, you are walking with your female disciples on the road. Somebody comes and tries to molest one of your female disciples. What would you do? So the Buddhist guru thought for a moment and said, I won't take any action, he said. Then all the other female disciples, they were screaming, oh Guruji, how can you say that? You have to protect us. You say you shouldn't take an action. So in this way, Prabhupada called such a non-violence as nonsense non-violence, he called it. Like Gandhi also said, when the British were subjugating India, that time Gandhi said, let us follow ahimsa vrat, that means non-violence. We will go in front of the British with open arms and say, if you want to kill us, you can kill us. Gandhi said like that. But actually, Gandhi, little did he know, actually the British could have shot all the people who came unarmed in front of them, because they are not saintly people, Therefore, we should know where to show non-violence and where to show violence. One should know that. In this way, there was one king called Prithviraj Chauhan. He was also non-violent. 17 times he left one Mughal king who attacked him, and he captured that Mughal king and left him. Again the Mughal king attacked him, captured and left. 18th time the Mughal king, captured Prithviraj Chauhan, this king in India, and then he killed him. He told, 17 times you left me, but I have caught you only once. If I leave you, then I may not be able to overpower you in future, so I will kill you. So he killed them. So now, if you were in Prithviraj Chauhan's place, what you would have done, any of you here, tell me? What would you have done if you are in his place? You should immediately kill him. Is it first time only you will kill or second time? When will you kill? Oh, he said, Prabhuji will give one chance to him. Okay. And you will give how many chances, Prabhu? No chance. Yeah, only first chance only you will kill him. Okay, anybody else? Yes. Okay. Acha. What should we do? We should finish him.
Like after knowing the results of the story and knowing what kind of a personality
Yeah.
he was.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's right. Actually,
Came out of harm's way, so he cannot attack that.
okay, very good. Give her one applause for her, Pantaji. So, I was about to tell you the same thing. If I was in Prithviraj Chauhan's place, what I would do is, see, the person attacking me is a Mughal king. I would house arrest him and I will make a mosque for him so that he can regularly worship Allah there. And I will give him a Quran also to study. And I will give him some Muslim mullahs to come and teach him also scripture. And I will tell him, till your last breath, you only have one choice in your life, to be Krishna conscious, to be God conscious. And 3-time prasadam also. Surely, I will provide them. And in his kingdom, I will tell the people, because your king is very atrocious, I have put him under house arrest, we are not killing him. But I will give one of our ministers as your king, so that your kingdom will be taken very good care. Like that I will arrange. And this is actually called as assertive behavior. Assertive means what? You are not aggressive, you are not passive, you are assertive. See, aggressive means I break your tooth. Passive means I allow you to break my tooth. Everybody can break my tooth. I will be lying like this. That is passive. Assertive means what? I take care of my tooth, I allow you, and I don't break your tooth also. That is assertive behavior. So assertive behavior is what is ideal behavior actually. Like Mataji was telling. We should find out, without killing him, is there a possibility we can sort out the problem? One should think like that. So other places where we can also do self-defenses, like Lakshman had to cut the nose of Shurpanakha because Shurpanakha became envious of Sita. She wanted to kill Sita. Then her nose was cut and driven away. And Bhima also finished Kichaka because Kichaka wanted to pollute Draupadi. So Bhima took a very severe action. If Gundas, hoodlums are attacking our ISKCON temples or opposing book distribution, sometimes we may have to do self-defense. We have to protect the devotees. Then we may have to take defensive measures. So these are situations where we should not tolerate. So anyone can become angry, it's easy, but we should know how much to the right person become angry, to right degree, right time, right purpose, right way. That is what we have to learn. There is righteous anger also. Like a parent sometimes becomes angry with the child for the good of the child. Or the teacher becomes angry on the student for the good of the student. Employer with the employee, like that. So this is the last slide, I am concluding. Please repeat this verse. Punascha bhuyat bhagavatyanante rati prasangascha tadashrayeshu mahatsu yamyam upayami srishtim maitrestu sarvatra namodijebhyah. Parikshit Maharaj prayed to Lord Krishna, I want 3 benedictions from you, my dear Lord. Let me develop love for God, let me develop association of devotees, and let me be friendly with all living beings. See, the last line says, Maitrestu sarvatra. With everybody let me be friendly. See, in this world, our general disposition should be that we don't create enmity with any living being, generally speaking, unnecessarily. I have shown the picture of an elephant here. This elephant was a very arrogant elephant. One day when he was walking on the road, he saw some thousands of ants crossing the road in a row. They all go in a row. The elephant laughed at them and he started pounding on them. So the leader of the ants came and said, "Oh elephant, why are you so merciless? What happened to you? Have you gone crazy or what? Why are you killing us?" The elephant laughed and said, "Look at you, how small you are, and look at me, how great I am." The ant said, "That is all right. That doesn't mean that you have to exploit us like this. And the elephant laughed and said, "No, I will finish all of you now," he said. Then the ant immediately made an announcement to all other ants and said, "Now we are putting curfew, everybody go into the holes." So we all went into the holes. But the ant developed great anger towards the elephant. He told the elephant, "Wait and watch what I will do one day." So one day when the elephant was sleeping, the ant climbed up his body and entered into the ears and started biting inside the ears. So when the ant realized the elephant caught up and he was waving the ears very, very fastly. He wanted to get rid of the ant, but the ant wasn't coming out. So the elephant caught up, he started running hither and thither. And the king's men were watching the elephant going mad. Immediately the elephant was ordered by the king to be shot dead. Immediately was finished. So I am telling you, even if we are big, we may be rich, we may be big, we may have power, but that doesn't mean we can mistreat anyone in this world unnecessarily. Bhagavatam repeatedly says, Titikshaya karunaya maitriya cha kila jantushu samatve nacha sarvatma bhagavan samprasidati. Titikshaya means always be tolerant. Maitriya, Titikshaya karunaya, be merciful. Maitriya, be friendly. With whom? Akila jantushu. With all living beings, he says. Samatve nacha sarvatma. Give equal treatment to all living beings. Bhagavan samprasidati. The Lord will be pleased with you, he says. Similarly, Dhruva Maharaj, when Dhruva was going back to Godhead, there was Shantaha samadrisha shuddhaha sarva bhutanuranjanaha yantyanjaza archita padam archita priya bandavaha. That verse says, Dhruva was completely, he said, pure devotees of the Lord are completely peaceful, they are always equal to all, they are pure hearted, sarva bhutanuranjana, they always try to please all living beings, they don't create enmity with anybody. Yanti anjasam, very easily they go back to Godhead. Why? Achita priya bandavaha. They make friendship with all devotees in this world. So, hatred towards Yakshas at one time, but he gave up the hatred and became friendly with all living beings before going back to Godhead. So that is one thing that we all have to learn. Generally, we should be friendly, avoiding any animosity or envy or enmity or vengeance towards any living being. Because the nature of a Vaishnava. See why I have shown you this picture? We have to have adjustability in life. We should not be brittle. You see how much these guys are adjusting, you see. Because the room is in the shape of a thank you. So they all are sitting their body within that space available. Space is available. So in the Vishnu Sahasranama Stotram, the last part says, please repeat this verse. Na krodho na cha matsaryo na lobho na shubhamatihi bhavanti krita punyanam bhaktanam purushottame. This verse says, devotees of the Lord are na krodho, they are unnecessarily never angry. That's a matsaryo. Mattarata means para utkarshaha sahanam. That means not tolerating others' progress. They never feel like that. They never feel envy for other living beings. Na lobho, they are never greedy. Na ashubhamatihi, they don't harbor any malice towards any creature. Bhavanti krita punyana bhaktanam purushottame, they are always engaged in Krishna conscious activities day in and day out. They delight in doing Krishna conscious activities and welfare for the other suffering living beings. So we should follow this verse in our lives, and unnecessarily then we will not have to worry about it for that at all. And even occasionally you encounter some confrontation with another devotee. If you are on the tolerant side, Lord will be on your side. Ambarish was on which side? Tolerant side or aggressive side? So Vishnu was on his side. Prahlad and Hiranyakashipu, Prahlad was on which side? Yeah, you will see that whoever is on tolerant side, Lord will be with you. Therefore, a devotee of the Lord unnecessarily does not show aggression towards the creatures. That's the conclusion. Prabhupada ki, Bhakta Vrinda ki. So I can leave this PowerPoint with our Prabhu. You all can go, when you go home, you can go through it. You can mail it to the devotees. One question I will ask. in that?
They are asked not to kill. But why should the king go to the forest and kill?
I explained in the beginning. Actually, the kings used to go to the forest and kill the overpopulation of the animals. The animals are supposed to live in the forest in certain percentage or proportion. When that proportion exceeds, like more tigers or more lions, then the king is supposed to actually kill them, so that otherwise the overpopulation of the animals may attack the sages and saints living in the forest. I think probably you were not there in the beginning, I think, correct? I was explaining this in the beginning, yeah. Is that clear? When there is an overpopulation of animals, otherwise the kings won't kill them unnecessarily. And also when king kills such a overpopulation of creatures, by killing them, king develops the chivalrous nature also. Otherwise, when a Brahmana sees a drop of blood, immediately he will faint. Whereas a king has the habit of going to forest and subduing the ferocious animals, either without even weapons, he can slap a tiger or a lion and fight with them also. Kings were so chivalrous in those days. Sometimes they would kill the overpopulation of animals in order to keep them under certain level of control. Also, sometimes the tiger or a lion comes out of the forest to take away a bull from the city. Sometimes. And the king will be told about that, and the king will kill that particular piece of man-eater tiger. Yeah. Unnecessarily, we don't kill the creatures. We don't kill unnecessarily. But when there is, as I told you, two things I told you. If animals are coming into the area of the humans and attacking because of their increase in population, those animals are killed.
I can understand what's happened to me is, but in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, in defining the word Kshama, Prabhupada says one should tolerate and forgive minor offenses. So by saying minor offenses, he's sort of implying that you shouldn't forgive or tolerate major offenses. So how do you understand that? How do you judge?
If somebody is committing major offense to another Vaishnava, instead of exhibiting great anger on him, we can actually take some official action, go to his authorities, complain about him. Complain to them and not in a way to undermine that person, but complain in a way to make sure he doesn't commit offenses, he is also saved and others won't get polluted. Yeah, no, if somebody is offending another devotee, for example, is making a major offense, then he can report to his authorities. Okay, even if towards you, for example, say somebody is assassinating your character, for example, and which is not true, then it is your duty to reveal to the community that what this person is saying is baseless. He is just cooking up things. Probably for some reason is cooking up. So this is the reality, this is the truth. One has to actually present the truth to people. You may not just keep mum. Like Lord Ramachandra, you will see that at one point of time a dhobi doubted him, a washerman doubted him. Then Lord Ram sent Sita to the forest, you know that. Similarly, Lord Krishna was doubted for the Shamataka jewel. Then Krishna went to the forest and brought the Shamataka jewel back. So it's our duty to establish the truth so that people don't carry any misconceptions. Especially at a time when the offense is some major offense. That is true. Of course, in that platform you have to check also. Like, we are not so dependent on the Lord. She was clapped the hands 3 times, totally dependent on the Lord. When we are in that platform, then we can exhibit such behavior. Even Madhavendra Puri had Ayachaka Vritti. Ayachaka Vritti means he would never beg at all. But the Goswamis didn't adopt that. They went for Madhukari. So Ayachaka Vritti is the highest, not begging. And Goswamis is Madhukari. Now we people don't do Madhukari also. We have a method of system of collecting donations and then running the temples. So I feel the dependence on the Lord is always emphasized. But the dependence can be of varying degrees. Yeah, thank you. So now we have exceeded the time, Prabhu. You told Prabhu?
Yeah, I told him.
Still he's checking.
He actually reached out to him and he said he'll see how the evening goes. Is what he said.
He said, okay. So thank you all for your rapt attention. I wanted to know how many of you felt the subject was easy to grasp for you. Oh, good enough, very good. I had a slight feeling that I rushed through certain sections because the PPT is a very big PowerPoint. It's meant actually for a 1.5 to 2 hours session. Today I spoke in how much time? 1 hour I spoke, I think. Correct, huh? I a little bit rushed through it. But you have pen drive, Prabhu? I'll just give you.
I'll take it now.
You can take it later, yeah. So I'll pass it on to Prabhu, okay? So thank you all for your rapt attention and participation and your absorption in the class. And this subject is very important for all of us because we all are trying to become Vaishnava devotees. We have to cultivate this quality of humility, tolerance, respecting all and not anticipating any respect from anyone. So those 4 qualities are very easy if we are going to be seriously cultivating your quality of forgiveness and not going for tit for tat. So I have spoken a little more elaborately in Prerana lectures in Chowpatty temple. If any of you see in desert Prerana lectures in the tit for tat, I have given some other examples besides this also. Thank you very much. Prabhupada ki, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki.